We were pretty famous back in high school.
Trust us. Had a whole future ahead of us, but now we suck.
All that potential now is flowing in the aqueducts.
Through the sands of time, many did forget.
But now our time has come to resurrect. But a podcast.
Sad I know, but can you blame us?
We are desperate to be much more than high school famous.
Hello and welcome to another, I was going to say adventure. Wow. Another episode of High School Famous, the podcast with your hosts, me, Matt, and you, Sean.
Yes, I'm
agree. Done talking. Go ahead.
I agree that I am also a host of this show. Good of you to include me.
Fantastic.
Mucho apreciado.
Well, you know, shit. I was going to say something. Now I lost it.
I had something profound, but it's gone.
No, oh, God, no. It wasn't profound. It was just something. But now I have nothing. This is where we're off to the races, aren't we? Just like
What
always,
races?
smooth sailing here.
What races are we off to?
You know, that's the thing, right? That's what that saying is kind of odd.
I
Off
think it
to the
means horse
races.
racing, to be honest.
Yeah, but it seems like when you say it, it's like it doesn't isn't the saying supposed to mean like you're going, you're moving, you're going to do, you're doing something. Right.
Yeah, you're about to head to where the races will take place. That's what I got from it.
Yeah.
What
Well,
do you get out of
that's
that
what
thing?
it sounds like it means. I don't know. I guess it does just kind of mean like you're off to like you're, I don't know. It's about being speedy and moving and going, and I guess going off to go do something. I don't know.
The fact
I think my brain is not fully operational at this very moment for some reason.
Well, it sounds like you've been doing a lot of traveling, but the fact that is what the saying became kind of suggests that to declare that you are off to the races was a big, important thing compared to other things that you could have been off to do at that time.
Right.
Whenever the saying came to be. So go traveling to whatever race they are referring must have been a very important event.
Yeah, I'm assuming it had to do with back in like, I was going to say back in the Kentucky Derby days, but that still happens. Back in like the early 1900s, I almost said century, the early 1900s ish time, like the 20s, 30s, 40s, when horse racing was a real big deal. I think it's still kind of a big deal now, but not as big of a deal as it was then. There was a lot less options for entertainment back in the day.
Yeah.
So things like horse racing and baseball were,
bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
Cockfights.
Burning witches.
Was that a
public
like
executions?
Public
Those are all big
executions
things.
was one thing. Yeah.
Yep.
That was
Yeah.
but
Well, I
witch
mean,
burn,
technically, that was technically a public execution.
it was, and both for good reason. In their heads at the time.
Let's say at the time, yeah.
They were protecting the world from witchcraft, which they were very much afraid of. Which we've come to learn there was no reason to be afraid of witchcraft. It's completely harmless.
Yeah, just like ghosts,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there a documented case of someone being hurt or injured by a ghost?
I mean, do you mean like there's documented cases, but are you saying legally documented? Like it's like fact?
Yes. Right. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like proven fact, I should say. Proven fact. We've established that facts can be anything. I don't know if there's ever been a proven fact case of a like what possessing a possession of a person or a harm to like. I think there's a lot of unexplained like oh, I woke up with these unexplained scratches or things like
or
that.
If someone's at the top of the stairs and they claim that they feel they were pushed and they fell down the stairs, something like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of these are just like, it's probably just a lot of domestic abuse stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, my husband was at work.
Between a living spouse and a dead spouse, perhaps.
Right. Yeah. A spectral spouse.
Yeah. Post-mortem domestic abuse. Very common.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Centuries ago.
I don't know why. This is completely like off subject, but what just popped into my head. So I was thinking spectral spouse. I'm like, oh, should make a movie called Spectral Spouse. And then it popped into my head the stupid movie idea we came up with when me and you sat and watched a really bad movie with a friend once called, I think it was My Best Friend's a Vampire.
Ooh,
Do you remember this?
Yes.
And then me and you came up with a better idea for a movie called Man's Best Friend is a Vampire, and it was about a vampiric dog.
I do remember that.
That's so much better. But yeah, that's what just randomly popped in my head just now. No explanation.
Wow. I have. Ooh, I don't. I remember now that we watched that movie. I have no memory of the movie whatsoever, or who we watched it with, or why we were watching that movie in the first place.
I know exactly who we watched it with.
Well,
We
it's
watched it
hard
with
to know.
Ashley.
It's hard to know. Not exactly who we watched it with. You either know who it was or you don't. Probably.
Well, I do know who. I do know who, and yeah.
Okay, so we watched it with Ashley, and it was
Yep.
terrible. But the good
Oh
kind of
yeah,
terrible.
yeah, it was a horrible movie. But, no, I think it was just. I think to me and you, it was just a bad movie. But she really liked that movie,
Huh.
and the whole time, me and you are just like obviously
Mocking
mocking the shit out of it because we're assholes, and if we if we don't like something that somebody else likes, we just tear it apart.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. The only stuff that's worth liking is the stuff that we like, right?
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
I think most people feel that way.
But I think
But
a
I
lot
think,
of people
I think most people
have,
feel that way, but yeah, have a moral
maybe
compass.
have a little more mature understanding about how to treat the situation when
other humans.
yeah, how to treat other humans. Which I've definitely grown to do that. Be way more respectful toward other people than I used to be. I'm not sure where you are on that, but I know I am.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more. I have a little better compass in my life now than I used to when I was young. I think the biggest thing back in the day was just like, hey, I'm gonna say this stupid, like, rude thing to this person because my friends will think it's funny.
Yep.
And I'm here to make my friends laugh at other people's expense. And that was kind of a big thing about it.
And then it backfires when your friends turn on you because what you said was a little too out of line, and then they're taken aback by it, and you're like, "Oh, come on, you guys know I'm just messing around. You know that."
Yeah, I think we were both really good at figuring out how to cross that line almost every single time.
Right. I just remember a time when I was kind of under the microscope of I don't know what the term I should use is, but I was not favored or not thought of well by our core group after making some comments toward a server at a restaurant one time. Our friends not knowing that I knew her already.
Oh, right. Yeah. What?
Yeah. She said something
what
about.
did you?
I think she asked how we were doing, and then we answered, and then she said something about herself, and I said, "Oh, we didn't ask."
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then but they didn't know that I already knew this person, so
right.
they're like, "Jesus!"
And then just like, Sean's a real fucking prick.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like we're getting tired of this. I think so. I was my Teflon coating was removed.
Yeah, I think it was kind of sometimes it gets to that point where it's just like, all right, like learn how to shut that off sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't always have to be like making crazy jokes.
Matt,
you live and learn, right?
It happens. Yeah, you live and learn, and so now we're all wiser for it. And we, Matt, have you ever, have you ever asked a question and the answer you got left you kind of with more confusion than when you started?
Constantly, all the time. I'm always learning.
Oh, good. Where do you, if I were to ask you, how many times is it okay to reheat food before you just throw it out? What's your rule of thumb on that?
Are you going to ask me? Because you said if you were to ask me.
Okay, I'm asking you officially.
Yeah. That's a Sean thing to do.
Sure is. Sure, why not? Yeah, sure. You got me.
I'm rubber. I'm rubber, you're glue.
Oh, I did that? I did rubber and glue?
No, I'm just
that's
saying
what you're doing to me now.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many times can you reheat food before it's like unsafe to reheat again, or before it's just like no good anymore?
Unsafe because you're going with heating and cooling and then heating and cooling and heating. Like how many times before it's like not recommended that you go back to eat that food again?
I've never really fully thought, because I don't think I've ever really reheated something more than maybe twice, 3 times tops, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
I never felt like I've gotten to the point where it's unsafe.
So you hear some people be like, "Oh, it's fine, it doesn't matter." And then for a long time, the rule that I was going by was basically once it's reheated once, so you cook it originally, then once you reheat it once, that's it. Don't bother going back to it after that. If you don't finish it all, only reheat what you're going to eat if you want to eat any more of it later.
Yeah.
I had made a pot of whatever you call them, those little cocktail weenies or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever,
like barbecue sauce or whatever.
Yeah. Barbecue sauce and jelly.
Yeah.
And
little cocktail wieners. Yeah.
Yeah. So I made some of those. Yeah. The recipe called for barbecue sauce and then some grape jelly.
Okay. We'll get back to that. That's highly inappropriate. Move on.
Or inappropriate. I just looked online for,
you got trolled,
I've never made them before. And so, no, this was like, on one of those recipe sites where you have to read
butter
read a novel.
Bread. And
no. Yeah. Oh, I looked at peanut butter and
jelly wiener casserole.
No, it was one of those websites where you have to read a novel before you get to the actual ingredients and steps to how to make something.
I hate that. Even
though that gets a lot of ridicule.
You don't have to.
Right, but even though that gets a lot of ridicule, it seems like every single website that posts recipes, they without fail do that same practice.
Right.
I have to go through pages and pages of nonsense about how this is really fun and it's really great for parties and how you'll love doing it and it's so easy and it'll change your life. And then it's like, okay, you finally get to that little block where it's like ingredient list and then cook time and prep and this and that. So anyway, long story short, I had reheated it and then I'm like, well, we didn't eat all these. So I'm going to
long story long.
Long story long. Yeah. So I looked it up. I just Googled how many times can you reheat food? And the top answer, which is from a site called highspeedtraining.co.uk.
Sounds legit. High speed training?
I don't know. Here's what it says. There are no limits to how many times you can safely reheat leftover home-cooked meals. And no limits is in bold.
Okay.
Next sentence. However, best practice is to limit the number of times you do so.
Okay. Limit the number of times you unlimitedly reheat your food.
There are no limits to how many times you can do it safely, but it's best practice to limit the number of times you reheat food. Why? If there's no limit, why is it best practice to limit the number of times? It just contradicts itself on the next sentence.
Yeah, immediately. I don't know. I guess my whole thing for best practice for that would just be like, at some point, the food's not necessarily going to be unsafe, but it's just going to be unedible.
Right. And it's going
to be dried out or whatever.
Yeah. I reheated it a second time. And then what I didn't eat that second time, I just got rid of. So it wasn't like I went crazy, but I never looked that up before. And I found that answer a little bit perplexing.
It's a bit perplexing. Yeah. It really does raise, more
You don't end up walking away with a clear answer.
Yeah.
It kind of tells you, it's completely fine, but be careful.
Yeah.
If you do it.
Look, you'll be completely safe, except it might kill you.
Right. So just, watch out. So
there's a real friendly dragon around the corner, super friendly, but could kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like,
yeah, it'll kill you if it feels threatened or angry, but we don't know what will do that. Anything can potentially do that. So just be careful when approaching the friendly dragon around the corner.
Especially if you
trying to show him your impressive sword.
Yeah, and if you have a container of meat just open, probably not a good idea.
Well, if you approach a dragon with a container of meat, I would not think that the dragon would attack you. I think the dragon would just go for the meat. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. Unless it's friendly, though. If it's a friendly dragon, it'll probably ask for some.
A polite, friendly dragon. So now this is not only is this a dragon.
I guess
friendly,
I guess you don't have to be
English-speaking dragon.
I guess you don't have to be polite to be friendly.
Right.
You can still be rude and friendly. Yeah.
Can you? I guess that's me. A lot of times, or it used to be me. I'm different now.
Yeah, I've grown.
I'm yeah.
I'm a big boy now. Yeah. So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the food spectrum you'd like to speak on? Any? Oh yeah, let's talk about this grape jelly fucking bullshit.
I don't know.
Like you got cocktail weenies,
Mhm.
barbecue sauce, and grape jelly.
Correct. Yes.
Those were the 3 ingredients.
You add a little bit of water.
Okay.
But yeah, that was it.
And you looked up this recipe.
Yes,
this
I did.
4-ingredient recipe. Do you not have a crock pot?
I have an instant pot now.
An instant pot.
So
I think that's different.
It can be used as a slow cooker, but it's also can be used as a pressure cooker. So that tends to make meals be prepared very quickly. So I was going that angle.
Yeah.
So I looked up an instant pot recipe for cocktail weenies or party, whatever. Little Smokies, they're called when you buy them.
I would think that the slow cooker recipe and the instant recipe would be identical
as far as ingredients
other than cook time. Yeah. And so literally so I don't ever really make cocktail weenies, but my family makes them a lot for when we have get-togethers and stuff. And it's literally cocktail weenies, barbecue sauce, crock pot.
Well, I don't know. This is the only recipe I ever looked up for it, and it said grape jelly. I mean, it tasted great. It didn't taste weird. It tasted good.
That's just super weird to me.
I don't know.
Yeah. I would have never thought about adding grape jelly to barbecue sauce and weenies. Well, moving on.
Someone did, and then that was imparted to me, and I did it, and it tasted good. So I don't. There's to me. To you
going forward, that's your go-to.
I mean, I could always try it. I could always try it without the grape jelly and see if it's noticeable.
Just like, oh, this is awful.
This is so not fruity.
These are absolutely. It just ruins the meal. Like grape jelly really just pulls the whole meal together. Like without it, it's just trash.
I did not look up a recipe for ass weenies, but that's what I got.
Oh, look, the ingredients are ass and weenies.
Huh.
Yeah, didn't really need to look that up.
Heat to desired temperature. Serve.
Yeah.
All right.
Heat till warm. We don't recommend reheating.
How do I prepare the ass? Yeah, we don't.
How do I prepare the ass? Be sure to wash the ass. Yeah.
Tenderize?
So, as you had mentioned, you could. How do you? Yeah. No, that's just a whole nother.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a whole paragraph on just how you tenderize it. So yeah, as you said, I've been doing some quote unquote traveling lately. As in I don't know, because my traveling is always going home for like a weekend or a few days.
Yeah,
it's never like going somewhere cool
like me.
Because home isn't going to Sean. Yeah, cool like Sean. Are you saying you do cool traveling? Oh, you're somewhere cool?
No, well, I was saying, well,
better clean that ass.
This one time I did some cool, quote unquote, depending on who you ask, cool traveling.
Yeah.
It's other than that, it's pretty rare for me to do some cool traveling.
Yeah. I haven't done any cool traveling in a long time. But yeah, so last Sunday, so a week ago today, I started driving back home to Minnesota, and my car started acting real funny. But I was like, you know what? It's a little cold. Once it warms up, it'll probably be fine. But it didn't start acting fine. So basically the car wouldn't accelerate. It would accelerate up to about 40, and then it just would bog down really bad. And eventually it would get up to speed. But I had to manually shift it up into 6th gear and set it on cruise control so that it would maintain a speed. Otherwise, I could just be flooring it and it wouldn't gain anything. So I just said, fuck it, put it in cruise control. It kind of would hold speed as long as I was, on a flat or going downhill. As soon as I would hit uphill, the car would just start slowing down to about 45. I don't think it would go much slower than 45. And then it would take forever to speed back up unless I hit a decline again.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I was driving with my hazards on in the slow lane. Several times I had to get over onto the shoulder and drive on the shoulder so cars could pass me and all this crap. So made it there, luckily. Got the car up to Rogers to my parents' place. We brought it to a shop that we always go to, and they checked it out, and my catalytic converter was clogged, completely clogged. So basically everything was just, the engine just wasn't able to push the exhaust out of the car at all. So it was just backing up into the engine. So he priced it out. He would have to get everything from the dealership or from Kia directly. And it was going to be $3,000 to fix everything, because you have to they basically do front to back exhaust system.
Ooh.
So he was shocked. He was completely shocked at that price. So he's like, immediately he called a different guy that he knows that's a specific like brake and muffler shop guy. That guy, he's like, he can probably do it for like half the price. So my parents are like, okay, cool. We'll bring it up there so this was already on Monday. So they said they'll bring it up there Tuesday to this guy, see what he can do. So I'm like, cool. I'm driving back home Tuesday. My mom gave me her car, came back home, no problems. Tuesday, she lets me know, all right, cool. This guy can do the entire exhaust system for a little over $1,000. Awesome. However, he also found a few more problems.
Oh.
So my both my front tie rods were loose. These are things I actually already knew about the car, but my front tie rods were loose. There was going to be a wheel alignment included in that, because if you're doing the tie rods, you're going to have to align the wheels. So I'd have to do the tie rods, wheel alignment. My spark plugs were basically screwed. I already knew they were bad, but now with the driving for 400 miles with the engine basically sucking in its own exhaust, they're going to be even worse. And then the other thing was an oil leak. He found where my oil leak was that I knew I had, but that the dealership didn't even find. When I had to take my car in a while back for a recall, and I told them, I'm like, it's leaking oil somewhere, and they're like, nope, it's not. I'm like, okay, this guy found it. Wow. So all of that stuff, the total of all of that getting fixed ended up, he quoted us at $2,020. So all of that still $1,000 less than what the other guy was going to just be able to do my exhaust for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
at that point,
rods,
we're just
no oil leak. Nothing.
Do it. Yeah. We're like, do everything. Do it all, because I'm still saving $1,000 and all of this is going to be fixed. So all of that ended up.
I'm curious what the other guy would have charged for everything else on top of the exhaust,
Oh, well, if it was
would have actually been.
If he had priced all of that other stuff out at the same cost, it would have been another $700-ish probably dollars or so.
Okay. All right.
Roughly. I'm just trying, because I got the whole sheet breakdown of everything. So I got so he did all that, and then he basically said he had to order the parts to do the exhaust. He said that stuff's going to come Friday. So we were like, okay, well then hopefully he'll have it done by this weekend, and we can trade the cars back around or whatever. And then so he said like, oh no, I'll have it done Friday. He's like, I'll do all the other stuff, and then once those parts come in, all I'm going to have to do is basically bend a couple things, install it, it'll be done. So yeah, Sunday drove out to Minnesota. Tuesday drove back from Minnesota. Yesterday drove halfway out and met my mom in Wisconsin and traded cars. So I spent about 6 hours, a little over 6 hours out to Minnesota, about 6 hours home, and then 7 hours back and forth yesterday to Wisconsin. I mean, and if anybody knows my woes of fucking sitting in a car for many hours, it's you. Just exhausting.
Close to 20 hours total.
Just driving. And So then, just for funsies, when I took my car in, this is all super thrilling stuff to listen to, but when I took my car in to get that, to have that recall done on it, they quote it, they do an inspection of the car, and then they send you a list of, here's all the things we think you should fix.
Yeah.
They quoted me at over $5,000 worth of things to fix on my car, which didn't include that oil leak.
Yeah.
That
would
have also had to
they
be
didn't even
done.
find that.
But so what they wanted to do was tires, front brakes, rear brakes, a cabin filter, oil change, steering linkage, new windshield, wipers, alignment, an AC service, fuel service, spark plugs, a rear windshield wiper, not a windshield, I guess, rear wiper, a brake flush, a coolant flush, and an engine air filter. So they wanted to do about $5,000 worth of shit on my car. So tires, they wanted to charge me $711 for tires. Like, no thanks. I got those done somewhere else for significantly cheaper. Front brakes and rear brakes alone, those two together, $1,050 at a dealership.
It is so cheap. No, we're just talking changing the pads or what?
Pads and rotors.
I mean, that's doing that yourself is so cheap compared to that.
I will do. I'm going to go do them myself soon. I will spend less than $300 to do them myself.
Easy, yeah, easily.
Yeah, and it's there. And brakes are so easy to do.
Yeah, super easy.
Yeah. So their price for my steering linkage $650.50, $655.50. What I paid with this other place, $264.
Yeah.
Dealerships, dude, so dealerships are such a ripoff.
But you want to, they seem more, you would assume that they're more skilled and trustworthy than some private mechanic who's just going to, charge you through the nose when it's really the dealership that's doing it.
Because the thing about the private guys or like the smaller shops is they're going to, a lot of times they'll find like aftermarket parts or just basically non-name brand parts. Like going to a dealership, they're going to specifically buy, like I go to Kia, they will specifically buy Kia built stuff, put Kia built stuff back on your car. When other place, like what's a freaking like Dunlop or some whatever car part manufacturer, or like, you go to, what are some, like Tires Plus or not Tires Plus. What's like an AutoZone? There you go.
AutoZone.
It's in the name, but yeah, but you could buy an AutoZone brand part for your car and it's going to be probably like half the price, Yeah. So it's just like the dealership's just going to gouge you there. And plus the dealerships are probably charging you more for the actual like labor too.
The labor too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the labor's ridiculous. I mean, labor is where it kills you every time anyways.
They probably pay their mechanics more,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Because I'm sure all their mechanics have to be like whatever level certification and stuff like that. But the thing about those mechanics too is those mechanics are probably not completely, because I will work on cars that aren't their necessarily their make. Yeah. But they're probably more kind of shoehorned into working on those make and models of cars. So they probably have to, I guarantee they have to look crap up half the damn time. They don't, I don't know. Either way.
Well, and
either way,
dealership,
I'd saved so much money.
The dealership wanted to do all of that extra work on the car, and they couldn't even find that oil leak. So how much are you going to trust them to do the work that they wanted to do?
When I told them there was an oil leak,
and they're like, nope.
I literally said, there is an oil leak. I have to put at least a quart of oil in this car every 1,000 miles minimum. I was basically putting new oil, a full thing of new oil in this car between oil changes.
Yeah. Which not anymore.
I shouldn't anymore, I hope. So, the dealership did do like a desludging for free of the oil. And since they did that, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't losing oil nearly as fast. So I think it was probably burning a little bit of oil too because of the sludge buildup and stuff. So since then, I had only had to put a little bit of oil back in the car, but now hopefully it's done. But yeah, they wanted to they wanted to put a new windshield on the car. That was going to cost me $1,100 for them to put a windshield on my car. And it's like, I can go through my insurance. I have a $500 deductible for my insurance. So I'll still spend $500, but that's half. Yeah. Fucking less than half. So it's like just dumb crap. And like windshield wipers were they wanted to charge me $70 for front windshield wipers. Like, come on. Just dumb shit. Fuel services are a waste of time and money.
Windshield wipers can get a little pricey though.
They can, but it's like, I'd still rather go to like AutoZone and buy them. The only thing that sucks though is I can only buy the rear wiper blade like through the dealership.
Oh, really?
I can't get that. Yeah, it's one of those, how some of those are
weird length or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think it's 11 inches or something, but it's all one piece. Like you literally have to replace the whole thing.
I bet you, mine is probably the same way.
Yeah.
So,
but yours, you lease or whatever, so you're good.
Yeah.
they'll
Which
probably
I
just
need to-
replace it.
I'm being every time I get in my car now, it's alerting me that I need to schedule with the dealership some maintenance.
Yeah.
I think it's because I crossed over 10,000 miles on the car. So
Yeah, probably. You've been doing lots of driving.
I have. I didn't think
Yeah.
to count or calculate all the time I spent in the car recently.
Yeah, it'd be easy to figure out.
Yeah.
Well, you figure it was about 6 hours to get out to Chicago, and then I think you said it was like 7 hours to Omaha.
Yep.
From Chicago.
Yep.
And then back to Minneapolis, whatever that was.
That was 5, let's say 5.5. And then when I drove to Moline, that was about 5.25 one way. So you get another 5.25 back the next day.
Oh, when was that? That was this week?
That was on Thursday. Yeah.
On Thursday. Okay.
Yeah. Thursday.
Well, now Sean's concert tour is officially over.
It's over.
His four city tour.
Yeah.
Sean did a nice little 4-city tour concert experience. Now he's back home chilling.
Yep. Now
maxing and relaxing, as they say.
What is maxing?
Taking it to the limit.
Doing things to the maximum?
I would assume so.
To the max, Cleo. To the max.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of my little mini adventure, there's a very strict no recording of any kind, right?
Right.
You can't take out your phone and try to take pictures of this during the show or take video or anything. And
which everybody still does.
People will sneak some stuff here and there, but there's a point in this show where they finish a song and then a 12-minute timer pops up on the big giant screen behind them and they leave. And then basically it's saying, 12 minutes, we'll be back. So go do whatever you got to do. We'll be back in 12 minutes and play some more. In the Minneapolis show, some guy took a picture of that. No members of the band were on no members of the band were on the stage. There was no performing going on. There was just a clock counting down from 12 minutes. And he almost got thrown out of the show for that.
You're shitting me.
There was a guy getting on him about because on the backs of the seats that are on the floor, every so many seats, there's a piece of paper taped to them saying no recording, whatever. So the guy's like, look, it's right here. And the guy's like, but the show is not happening. There's no performing. It's not the show. This is just and it was one of those like weird standoffs where the guy kept telling him to leave. And the guy who took the picture was like, I don't want to get kicked out of the show. So I'm going to just try to not leave and hope they don't force me to leave. So he just stayed in the seat. And then the guy ended up getting the manager, like the security manager, whoever it was, his superior. And I didn't hear what he said, but I ended up talking to him for a few minutes and then they let him stay. So they didn't kick him out for taking such a stupid picture. I was surprised. Everyone around us. Yeah, because this guy was a row or two behind me. And so all of us were around, like, looking at each other like, you got to be kidding me. I understand that there's a no record policy during the performance, as it says on the paper, during the performance.
Right.
But this was not the performance at all. I don't know if this guy was just, trying to do his job and actually enforce a rule.
He was just trying to be he was just trying to fucking throw some fucking weight around like a jackass. That guy clearly has some fucking complex.
Yeah. But then later on, some guy during the actual show like popped his phone up and I don't know if he was recording or if he just tried to take a picture, but that guy got nabbed right away and like walked out. So he got walked out of the show. Wow. It's like, why? You're so close to the end and you paid a lot of money to be at this show. Why risk getting kicked out or something like that? And what they always do lately is at the very last song, they're like, all right, you guys, you idiots can take out your cell phones because you're addicted to this and you can use your phones and take pictures and record for this last song. So there was going to be a point where people were going to be able to record them anyway.
Right.
So it's like, just wait one more song, dude, and you'll be able to stay in the show.
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of understand why the bands do that is if it's a distraction or whatever, or just kind of a copyright protecting kind of situation or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, if they're gonna just let you do it at the very end, then just fucking wait a couple minutes, dude. Like, yeah, well, I don't know.
He didn't.
But that fucking intermission one. Like, come on.
I know it doesn't make any sense.
Like
yes, we
literally,
we know we're not allowed.
Put put your fucking boner away. Stop trying to fucking throw your weight around. It clearly says not during the performance. This is clearly not a performance photo. Like, I'm sure a lot of the main lights probably came on in the
the house lights were on.
It was house lights pop on and everything. It's like, dude, like look at the photo. There's no band members on stage.
Yeah.
There's no performance happening. It's a clock that's counting down until we have to be back in our seats.
The only thing that
Like,
wasn't happening
in that case, I'd just be like, do you want me to delete it? Like, will that make you happy? I can delete the photo.
Yeah. The only thing that wasn't happening that normally happens like in between bands or when a show is over is that sort of background sort of house music they just start playing. That was the only thing that wasn't going on that would signify that this is not the middle of a performance. So it was just so stupid.
Which, I mean, what a missed opportunity for Tool to have the song Intermission playing.
I know.
During their intermission.
I know. I think
they have a song specifically. It's not long enough, but it could have been on a loop.
No, it's not 12 minutes. They could have found a way. You know them. They could find a way to make it long enough.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a version of it. Sure, there's a version of it somewhere that's at least 12 to 18 minutes long.
Yeah,
someone's cut it down for the album.
If they haven't.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. You know, have you seen crap on YouTube where they're like 1 hour loop of this song? So you can just play a song for an hour straight, and it just keeps looping itself.
I've not seen that.
There's tons of YouTube videos that people do that. They just loop a song over and over again, so you can just keep listening to it.
I've seen stuff where it's like 10 hours of white noise or 10 hours of dark video and white noise or sea sounds or stuff like that.
We found a 15-hour music to help calm your cats.
Oh,
that we played on the way out to Minnesota because we brought Montgomery with us, and he meows a lot in the car. So we were playing.
Did it stop the meowing?
Like a fucking charm.
Are you serious?
He immediately calmed down.
So when he is now, when we recorded one of these last times, which cat was doing all the meowing during the recording? Was it the same one?
That was Milton. No, that was Milton.
Okay. Well, I think maybe just as a precautionary measure.
Milton is a vocal boy at home.
Maybe as a precautionary measure, slap some headphones on that cat and get that playing in its ear to keep it down during the session here.
Yeah. Well, so what happens while we're recording is I have to separate the two of them. So one's out in the living room and one's over here, and so eventually one of them decides that it doesn't want to be over there anymore and starts meowing.
What type of music are we talking here? Is this like, could you have theoretically put on any kind of music and it would have had the same effect? Or what was special about this music?
It was
calming to a cat?
It was basically just kind of like calm, like classical music is basically kind of what it was.
So you could have been rocking out to some Mozart on your own and it would have had the same.
I mean, potentially. Yeah.
We know
how I like to rock out. You know how people like to rock out to Mozart.
I always thought it was funny this is years ago when CDs were prominent and Best Buy trips were a weekly thing. I always thought it was funny. I saw a CD once that was Beethoven's greatest hits.
Right.
The idea of Beethoven having hits, like they top the charts. Like these aren't hits,
I mean,
they're probably more well known of his right. Just to call them greatest hits, I found to be a little bit. It takes away what it is.
Like what were all those like CD like band compilations of like were they like the 20th remastered blah blah blah. There was always like a silver looking like CD cover with like I don't remember, but it'd be like one of those. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Sure,
I give up.
That is what those are, and those were sold. And I never bought one. Did you ever buy one?
I don't know. Maybe. There's a whole thing about buying like a greatest hits thing.
Are you in favor of when a band will go back and re-release an older record they remaster it and punch it up and re-release it with modern day techniques?
I mean, I usually just don't care. Like, it's not going to sound different enough. Like, it's not going to be like, this is what it would have sounded like if we had this back in the day, and the song's completely different. Like I think like that. You were telling me that Pearl Jam 10 there was a Pearl Jam 10 like re-release of what they really wanted the songs to sound like, but they couldn't do it or whatever at the time. Yeah. And it does, and the songs do sound fairly different, but not from what I've heard, not really better.
Just different, right?
Different. Yeah, they were like different to the point where it's kind of like, I don't know if I really like this. Like, I think I kind of like the way they were released better. So I don't know.
I think it's funny because I think the description on that was something to the effect of, well, we wanted these other elements of the music to be a little bit higher up in the mix, where it wasn't so much the vocals standing out. And it seemed like on that whole album, the remixed album, that the vocals were even more on top of everything than they were before. Yeah. So I don't know what they're getting at.
Yeah, it seemed unnecessary. But yeah, I don't know. The remastering thing, like, I don't know if it really... I mean, sometimes it can just make the songs sound a little cleaner, and maybe the levels are a little nicer, so you can hear things with a little bit more punch and stuff. But in general, it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, I kind of like the older recordings. It's what I'm used to, and it's, you know, when you hear it a different way, then it's kind of like takes away from the music a little bit sometimes, I think. I don't think it makes me mad. I don't think it does.
You've destroyed my childhood. How could you?
I mean, I think I've destroyed my own childhood at this point.
So how do you feel about, Taylor Swift doing all of her songs her way?
Oh God. I don't care about Taylor Swift at all. No opinion of Taylor Swift.
Isn't that how she's basically able to own her own music by just making it again herself? Is that not the case or something like that?
I don't think that's how it would work. I would think
that was Prince's whole thing, right? When he changed his name because he was trying to get the rights back, there's the ownership back of his own music or something. Isn't that what that whole thing was? Where he became the artist? I
really have no idea. I've never looked into that at all.
I heard that's what it was. It was because he changed his name back to Prince once he got all of his music back.
Okay.
I think that's what it was. He no longer performed under the name Prince because he wanted to be able to do whatever he wanted with the music or something like that. And by performing under a different name, it was like a loophole where he was able to do that. But then once he got it all cleared and he got his ownership of his own music back, that he began performing again under the name Prince. I think that's kind of in a nutshell what the case was with that. But I don't know for sure. I'm sure there are many details that I'm very unaware of, but that's kind of what I get or what I heard about that.
Very interesting. I never looked into that at all, so I had no idea. But
never too late, Matt. It's never too late.
Never too late to look into Prince trivia or Prince knowledge, get more Prince knowledge.
Yeah, it's never too late.
Yeah, I mean, there's at this point now, since he's passed away, there's only a finite amount of knowledge that you can get.
Yeah, there's no
more happening.
Yeah, you know exactly how much there is to learn, and you can.
Well, I'd have to learn that first.
You would. Someone knows.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't necessarily imply that it was known by you.
Does somebody know? Does somebody know exactly how much there is to learn about Prince?
I guess Prince would have been the only one.
That'd be a weird amount of knowledge to have. I don't even think Prince would know that. Like, how would you ever know how much there is to learn about yourself?
Well,
like if you were like, Sean, I want you to learn everything about me. There's exactly 1,089 facts to learn. There's shit about me I've forgotten.
I'm just saying I don't think Prince would be able to necessarily quantify it and say, I've got 3,000 deciliters of information.
Why deciliters?
I don't know. I felt like picking a weird unit of measurement for knowledge. I figure filling up like a pool or something.
Everything you need to learn about me is in a volume state and not like a...
It's not... Yeah.
It'd be a weird way to quantify like anything about yourself.
But no, I wasn't saying that Prince would know. Like,
this volume of knowledge you need to learn.
Well, Prince is the only one that wouldn't have to learn anything about Prince. This is what anyone else can say about themselves for the most part.
Right.
You know? So,
but
he doesn't know how much.
Don't you think there's things about you that... Go ahead.
There's lots of things about me. I don't know.
I was going to say, there's things that I've told you about yourself that you don't remember. Like, so you couldn't even say like
harsh things.
I don't think there's anything in the, like, any person in the world that could say that they know exactly everything that you could ever learn about them.
Who's
Because
that?
there's shit that you forget about yourself all the time.
Who's that celebrity? She has like a photographic memory.
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of people that
Well,
have photographic memory.
I've heard her mentioned recently. Basically, anything you ask her about any point in her history, she can tell you where she was, what she was wearing, who she was with. Like, she can tell you pretty much anything that's ever happened to her.
I feel like I would hate that. I would hate having like.
Well, I don't think you would sit there and think
perfect of a memory.
I don't think you wouldn't sit there and just think about it all the time.
No,
but if someone asked you, you could recall it without having to think, without having to struggle with finding the answer. You just go, oh yeah, right. I was doing this. You were riding a unicycle poorly.
But I don't know. I think it would take away a little bit of like, because sometimes me and you will remind each other of things, and then we'll just like I could remind you of something funny you did, and then you can actually laugh about it again because you don't remember ever doing it. And then you just be like, oh, that was really funny when I did that. If you did that to this kind of person, they'd just be like, yep, that did happen.
Yes.
It was funny. It doesn't
funny.
surprise me. Like, you can't be surprised by your own thing. Yeah. Not that you would be like monotone about it, but you'd probably be like, oh yeah, it was really funny when that happened. But you wouldn't have that like moment of like, oh God, that's hilarious. That's actually awesome that I did that. But I don't remember ever doing that, I
mean, it is it is a little fun to be reminded like that, but then there's the rest of the time where you're like, man, this sucks not being able to remember all of this on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, but then you have like, you don't necessarily have the greatest memory for that kind of stuff, but I'm sure you have a good memory for other things. Whereas like I retain the dumbest shit in my head constantly. Like when I was driving back and forth to Wisconsin yesterday, I was listening to a bunch of episodes that I hadn't listened to yet of our own fucking podcast. I'm so lame. I was listening to ourselves laugh and have fun, and I was just like, ha ha, chuckles, this is great. So I just recently listened to the episode that we had Adam on where we did the Princess Bride trivia.
Princess Bride, okay.
And the whole time I'm just like, this is the shit. This is the shit that stays in my head. These are the memories I keep. I don't know people's birthdays. I don't retain that kind of stuff. I've been this last year, when a birthday comes up, I've been putting it in my Google Calendar so I stop missing people's birthdays. I don't remember that kind of stuff. I don't remember phone numbers anymore.
Facebook doesn't remind you of people's
Facebook
birthdays?
tells me, but then I've been starting to put
logging it in.
Like I'm talking about like nieces and nephews who don't have Facebook, and like my grandma and like stuff like that. Like people,
nieces and nephews who don't have birthdays.
No, they don't have Facebooks. So I've been trying to like get that kind of stuff. Like I just put my grandma's birthday in like 2 years ago for the first time I ever like knew when my grandma's birthday was. So stuff like that. I don't keep that kind of knowledge in my head.
What about Mark's birthday? Mark's
birthday, I will always remember.
Yeah, because he's important to you.
Or whatever. No, it's just because there was the similarities between people's birthdays. Though they always just stuff like that always just stuck in my head.
Yeah,
like I always remember Mikey's because it was the 28th of February. And I only remember that because it was like, oh, what if it would have been the 29th? Huh? So that stuck in my head for some reason. It was like It was like a dumb thing I told Mikey one time about how to remember my parents' phone number. And I was just saying, hey, in the year, blah, 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 which was like way like, hundreds of years in the future. I'm like, in this year, we'll all be dead. I said that to him. And for whatever reason, he always remembered my parents' phone number from there on out.
I mean,
it was so dumb.
Yeah, it's so wacky and out there.
You attach something stupid to it and you remember it. But I don't attach anything stupid to movie knowledge that I have or music knowledge that I have or the ridiculous amount of lyrics from songs that's stuck in my head. A song I haven't listened to in 5 years and it'll play and I'll just start singing it word for word. I'm like, why? Why does that? The brain is so weird.
Music has
like filed away somewhere.
Music has that power though.
Yeah.
For some reason.
It does.
You remember lyrics?
I mean, a movie too. A movie too. If I haven't seen a movie in like decades, and I'll put the movie in, and I'll just start reciting lines from the movie.
I mean,
or you immediately just know.
I'm sure you could do that with some movies, but I'm sure there are plenty of movies that you've seen where you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of movies that I've only seen once that I couldn't tell you anything about what was said.
Dude, that's the stupidest thing with me is I'll I will have seen a movie one frickin' time, and if you ask me a question, we've done this several times when we'll be like on a call with friends, and I'll just start reciting like movie quotes from a movie I've seen one time 20 years ago. And I'll start like I was pissing Mark off one day, I think, just because I was constantly like saying all this stuff about a movie I'd like hadn't seen in forever. And I was like describing the entire damn movie. I was like, why does that's how my brain works. And I just don't get it. I won't remember important things. I literally won't remember something I'm supposed to do tomorrow, but I can tell you a million fucking things that I haven't done in 20 years.
Well, Matt, that's because you need a planner.
I need a 5-subject notebook.
Yep. In which I will only jot down useless things we talk about and possible title ideas. So that's the important stuff that this notebook is for.
Mm-hmm. But you have one section for each season of the year and then just a miscellaneous section. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to separate it or if you're just going to go front to back and just fill it.
The fifth one is a year in review type of a section.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's not really
or the holiday specific section.
I suppose it could be that. But I, never write anything down.
Until we're out of the holiday.
I know.
Until we're out of the holiday episodes.
That's going to be what, November or technically October, unless we just keep going. But the holidays, I don't think are going to vary much year by year. Yeah. Well, I don't know what we're going to do then. We're going to be scrambling for content. Then
what could we do?
Space holidays.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think so. I mean, sometimes I like listening back to episodes while I was driving. I honestly think sometimes some of our better episodes are ones where we just kind of come into it with no set idea. Some of those episodes sometimes come out really well.
They do.
I mean, sometimes they're not great, but I think we just go on random things that lead to random. I mean, the amount of weird shit we just talked about today alone.
I know it's magic. It's magic.
It's absolute magic. And if you know anything about magic, is that it's not real.
We create something from nothing, Matt.
Yeah. This is vocal sleight of hand. That's what this is.
Well, it's not really, because it's not like we didn't have the stuff here all along and it was just hidden. It was really not there.
Well, you don't know that the listener doesn't know that. This could have been a completely pre-planned. This could have been scripted. They don't know. This could have been so well scripted that it sounds like it was unscripted. But
wouldn't that make people
vocal
think?
Sleight of hand.
Wouldn't that make people think, "Wow, this is what when they really plan it out, this is what they got"? Like I'll give it to them.
Crazy though. Like how?
Like
if you think.
Go ahead. But
if you think about it, if that was the case, if this whole thing would have been scripted out, but it sounds completely unscripted, how good would we have had to have been? That proves that you're really fucking good if you can script something out to the point when we're saying it back to each other, it sounds like it's coming up on the spot, like with interrupting each other, and like, sounds like we're coming up with something on the fly and how we're laughing about it. It sounds very spontaneous. Like that would be impressive.
It would. It would only go as far as the way that it sounds like it's not scripted. That's the impressive part. But what is actually talked about, I would hope that people would expect more of us than this, or we would expect more from ourselves than what this was.
But then it wouldn't have. If it was too good, it would have then flipped back the other way, where it's like, this has to have been pre-written.
Yeah,
it's too good.
So we have to find that believable middle ground.
Gotta find that fine line
where it's entertaining enough, but it doesn't seem like it's unbelievable that it's off the cuff.
Yeah, right. Because if you've ever watched like a show or a movie or something where they have like podcasting in it, or people like talking to each other, like in a recording kind of situation where it's supposed to sound like it's on the fly, right? It's always horrible.
Oh, it never sounds good.
Like the pre-written jokes do not land. The way the people laugh at the pre-written jokes, it's just so unspontaneous sounding, and just they laugh like too much for something that wasn't really very funny. Like I hate that stuff.
Do you think it's weird when like podcasting is featured in a movie or a show?
It's kind of weird. It can be, because I know, like, yeah, there's two examples in my head. One's a movie and one's a TV show, and both I'm just kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
So the movie I'm thinking of is Tusk. The podcasting in that, and how they're just like the way they were like showing the video of the kid that like hurt himself, and they're just like laughing so hysterically at it, and I'm just like, this part's not. It's just not real. It's so weird. And then the TV show recently, Iman wanted to watch Just Like That, and Just Like That or whatever, which is the new Sex and the City show.
Oh,
and there's podcasting in
yeah.
that, and it's the podcasting in that it's so cringy and just not natural sounding, and just like, I don't know, bad, just bad.
Yeah. It typically seems to me, it always feels like you're trying too hard to be like to put in something that's relevant, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, that whole TV series was that.
Oh, because that was a reboot, right? No, that was like that wasn't a reboot.
Continuation.
That was yeah.
Yeah.
But one
so
person
the
didn't
original,
come back or something, or they didn't want someone to come back.
Kind of a little bit of both. But
okay.
the original show always caught a lot of flack because it was like, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, this doesn't represent like my community, like not a lot of people of color and not a lot of people of, you know,
so Friends.
LGBTQ plus community. So yeah, basically like Friends. I mean, Friends got a black character at the end.
Yeah, but Friends
Sex and the City had one black character
called out
for a while. Oh yeah,
Friends gets called out for being very white. But Seinfeld
it should have just been called white Friends.
Seinfeld too,
right?
In a way, yeah. I think not as much as Friends, but Seinfeld was also like,
for shows that take place in New York, which is a very culturally diverse city. Yeah. They should have it should have been white Friends, white Seinfeld, and white Sex and the City.
And I know that a lot of times people on Seinfeld that were not firstborn American, or you could tell they were from another country, they were often punchlines. Like they were often sort of the butt of the joke. Yeah. So you know. Yeah. But we excused it all by saying I think those were different times.
Yeah. But I think that was the thing about this new series was it was like, oh, well, we took all the notes on how the original series wasn't diverse in any way, and they were like, oh, hard, like a big overcorrect, like almost overcorrected so hard that it basically did a 360, and it was just like, yeah, I don't know, it was to the point where it was just so like they tried so hard, like tried way too hard that it just missed the mark completely and was like cringy how bad it was, and it was just it was hard to watch. But
well, I think the show in general,
that's my review.
I think the show in general would be hard to watch, right? If you're not into it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not into it, like I'd seen the whole Sex and the City series, and it was like, at points it was like, okay, it's all right, it's fine. It's not really like, you know, I don't fit into the demographic that show was kind of steered towards. But I'm like, in general, I'm like, it's an okay show, I guess. But it was that whole thing of like very, very whitewashed show and very kind of like unrealistic portrayal of women in their 30s living in New York, of just like everybody has these amazing apartments and like all this stuff. It's like, that's not what living in New York looks like. Like, like the main character is a columnist for a newspaper, and she lives in this super nice apartment and buys, you know, $600 pair of shoes. Like she has like a closet full of like all these amazing clothes and all these really expensive things, and has this huge high taste in fashion and all this stuff. And it's like, you're doing all this on a budget of a columnist for a newspaper. Like they can't be paying you that much.
Yeah. And did she come from money? Like, did her parents?
Not as far as I know. I know there was like a prequel series that failed horribly that probably explained where she really came from, but I don't believe any of that. This is weird. We're talking about Sex and the City.
Well, we're talking about it being inaccurate.
Right.
But I forget how we got on this in the first place. Podcasting in shows and movies.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. It's ironic that the thing I had written down before that was memory, and I couldn't remember how we got there.
Yeah. But I think it's a little bit interesting and maybe a little telling that, of the examples we gave about podcasting in movies and television, what you wanted to just continue to talk about was Sex and the City.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things I can get on a topic and I can go for a while on it and I can tell you a lot about it. Like I've seen the new Sex and the City series one time. You want me to walk you through the entire fucking thing? Because I could.
No.
It's up here.
Did you see the new Ghostbusters movie?
Yeah, I thought we talked about, not on here, but I thought we talked about watching that. Yeah,
I figured, but there's that character who calls himself Podcast.
Oh yeah,
podcasts, and it turns out
kind of nonstop.
Yeah, but it turns out he just
it's just him walking around with a microphone,
like an SD card or something.
Yeah, but he must put him somewhere because Ray ends up being his like one listener.
Yeah, that's right. He's the one subscriber. Yeah, he must. I don't know where he must just put him on.
Yeah, and he's like, it really. What was it? What was the joke of like it really picks up at like episode 47 or some shit, and it's just like, why did you wait that long? Like that's where the show starts to pick up.
Well, it's
you tugged along with it for 40 something episodes. Like, oh, this isn't that great. Let's keep going.
Oh, are you saying Dan Aykroyd's character?
Yeah, like why if you listen to something, if you're listening to something and you're just like, I don't know, I'm gonna hold out to see if it gets any better. Maybe 20 episodes in, I don't know. Maybe
he enjoyed it enough. He must have enjoyed it enough to listen to it in general. But then once he, episode 46 surprised him. He's like, "Holy cow! This took a turn and it's awesome." And then it continued that way beyond there.
Yeah.
So I am knocking into a lot of things today.
Yeah, this is going to be a horrendous recording. No, I'm curious I'm curious now. Call out to the listeners again, like we do in every episode, and hear nothing.
Yep.
What episode did we really hit our stride? I want to hear it. I mean, this is episode 71. Have we hit our stride yet?
So I'm going to propose.
Are we there?
I'm going to propose something right now, and we wanted to call our subscribers the alumni, right? To go off of the high school theme. I think we need to call them the vacuum
because they're just sucking it in and not giving anything back, or what?
Yeah, like it's all of this is it's cast out into a vacuum and we never get anything out of it in return.
Oh, gotcha.
So
yeah,
the low hanging fruit of that would just say that they suck, but that's not what I was going for.
Oh,
or
yeah, that's actually cruel.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that. It was more of the like sort of the cold vacuum of space type of vacuum.
You're going, the cold vacuum of space where in space, what nobody can hear you. Comment on a podcast.
The cold vacuum of space in space by Matt Schlegel.
Space. I didn't. There were two separate thoughts. There was two separate thoughts. I just didn't space them out a lot.
Space them out.
2022.
No, you didn't space them out.
2022. The cold vacuum of space in space. Matt Schlegel, 2022. That's my quote for this year.
Well, you got it out early.
Yeah.
I don't have my yearly quote yet.
I mean, it could change. I could come up with a better one. I mean,
this is your running placeholder quote.
This
potentially?
is just, yeah. Quote of the year. I mean, here's the thing, Sean. We have hours and hours of audio recording of us. I can guarantee you we can find you a good quote out of all of that.
I probably, but do I want to scrape through that much of us to find it?
I mean, you listen back to the episodes. I mean, just as you're listening, if you say something kind of that you find amusing or clever, from here on out, don't go back and listen through. Just like, you're moving forward.
So we're supposed to record ourselves talking, and then I'm supposed to listen back to find something that I think that I said that's really funny to me.
Well, I'm not saying you have to do that, but you're
involved with all that.
No, but here's the thing: is you already do listen back to the episodes, right?
I do.
So
now just pay more attention
as you're listening through. Yeah, as you're listening through them, if something that you say catches your eye as a funny quote, write it down. It's not, you don't have to look for it. Just if it so happens to happen.
I think my quote is, "How do I prepare the ass?"
I mean, that could be your quote at the moment. There you go.
There it is, folks. Until further notice, my 2022 quote of the year: "How do I prepare the ass?"
Mm-hmm. In the vacuum of space.
Bye.
Oh, that is going to be a nightmare. Bye.
We are on TikTok now, which makes us even cooler. HS Famous. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at HSFamousPod. Email us directly at highschoolfamous@gmail.com. We have Patreon too, but you'll never go there. Altogether, our hearts beat as one.